Have you ever wondered what Jesus truly meant when he asked us to love our neighbor? It seems simple, doesn't it? But this commandment goes far beyond what we might imagine. In today's world, where so many things divide us, this message is more important than ever. How can we love our neighbor amid so much division and difficulty? Jesus gave this commandment at a time when divisions ran deep, both religious and social. He was teaching on the hills of Galilee, where crowds gathered to hear his words of life. He said, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself," a simple but revolutionary command. He mentioned it in Matthew 22, verse 39, and that phrase continues to resonate today. But what does it really mean for us? How can we apply this teaching in our lives today? Let's explore together how this commandment can transform our lives. Stay with me. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover the true meaning behind these words and how to apply them practically. Get ready for a journey of love, compassion, and action. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any part of this incredible journey. Let's discover together what it truly means to love your neighbor. To understand what Jesus meant by love your neighbor, we need to go back in time to the historical and cultural setting in which he lived. Imagine Jerusalem in the first century, a bustling city, but one full of divisions. At that time, neighbor had a very specific meaning. For many Jews, a neighbor was someone of the same faith, the same people. Samaritans, Romans, and other foreigners were seen as enemies or, at best, distant. There was a clear dividing line between groups. Religious and cultural conflicts were common, and many believed that the command to love your neighbor applied only to those within their religious circle. But Jesus changed this concept. He broadened the meaning of neighbor to include everyone, regardless of race, religion, or social status. He showed us that love should be universal. The parable of the Good Samaritan is the perfect example. While others passed by, it was the Samaritan, the one considered an enemy, who stopped to help. This challenged all social expectations of the time. So, what does this mean for us today? Do we still limit our love to those it's easier to love? Jesus calls us to love everyone, even those who are different from us. Jesus showed us that loving your neighbor means loving without limits. Let's now discover how we can apply this in our daily lives. The parable of the Good Samaritan. Jesus used stories to teach profound lessons, and the parable of the Good Samaritan is one of the most powerful. Imagine a man traveling on the dangerous road from Jerusalem to Jericho, where he was attacked by robbers and left nearly dead. First, a priest and then a Levite, both religious men, passed by him. But instead of helping, they avoided the wounded man, crossing to the other side of the road. Then came a Samaritan. He not only stopped but tended to the man's wounds, took him to an inn, and ensured he was cared for. An unexpected act of love and mercy from someone considered an enemy. Each character plays an important role. The priest and the Levite represent those who, despite their religious knowledge, fail to act with love. The Samaritan, on the other hand, shows that the true neighbor is the one who acts with compassion, regardless of differences. Jesus redefined the concept of neighbor. It's not about physical or cultural proximity, but about action. The one who acted as a neighbor was the Samaritan, challenging prejudices and showing that love knows no boundaries. And you? Who are the neighbors in your life? Is there someone you've avoided helping because of differences? Jesus calls us to look beyond barriers and act with love and compassion. This parable challenges us to love in a practical and encompassing way. Now let's explore how to apply this teaching in our daily lives. Love is practical action. The love Jesus taught is not just a feeling, but an action. It's easy to talk about love, but the real challenge is to live it out daily through concrete and intentional gestures. Love as action goes beyond pretty words. It manifests in simple gestures that make a difference, like leaving an encouraging note or offering a sincere smile to someone having a tough day. Loving your neighbor can be as simple as dedicating your time to help others. It could be through volunteering, sharing resources, or just being there to listen to someone. small acts add up to significant transformations. Empathy allows us to understand and feel the pain of others, while compassion drives us to act. When we see someone in need, we can choose to be the help they need. A simple gesture of support can change everything. How can we bring more love into action in our lives? Perhaps by helping a neighbor, listening attentively, or offering help without expecting anything in return. How about reflecting on how you can practice more love in your everyday life? Imagine the impact we could make if each of us decided to love practically every day. Love is not just a feeling. It is a transformative force that can change the world, one action at a time. Let's turn love into action together. Loving your enemies. Loving friends and family comes naturally. But what about when Jesus challenges us to love even our enemies? This is one of the most difficult commandments, but also one of the most transformative. In Matthew 5, verse 44, Jesus says, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." This is a call for love that goes beyond the ordinary, a love that disarms and heals. In the historical context, Jesus was speaking to a people living under Roman oppression. Loving enemies, in this scenario, was an immense challenge, but also a spiritual revolution. The greatest example of loving enemies is found in Jesus, who, while on the cross, prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." He practiced what he preached, loving even those who crucified him. In modern times, Martin Luther King Jr. echoed this commandment, preaching love and nonviolence even in the face of injustice. He said, "Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend." And what about us? How can we apply this commandment in our lives? Perhaps through forgiveness, reconciliation, or a simple act of kindness towards someone who has wronged us. The challenge of loving our enemies leads us to a deeper and more mature love. How about trying an act of reconciliation today? It could be the first step toward transforming relationships and, perhaps, the world around you. Loving your enemies is a journey of transformation. How can this practice deeply impact our lives and those around us? Personal and social impact. Jesus' command to love your neighbor is not just a beautiful idea. It is a powerful force that can transform lives and entire societies. Let's discover how this love can have personal and social impacts. In everyday life, loving your neighbor can transform personal relationships. Imagine resolving conflicts with empathy and understanding, strengthening bonds, and building healthier relationships. Look at the testimonies of people who chose to love in challenging situations and how it transformed their lives. These stories inspire and show that small acts of love make a big difference. But loving your neighbor goes beyond personal relationships. It is a powerful tool for promoting social justice. When we look at others with love and compassion, we are driven to act against injustice and inequality. Leaders like Gandhi and Nelson Mandela demonstrated how loving your neighbor can be a revolutionary force, bringing significant changes in societies marked by inequality. Loving your neighbor also promotes reconciliation and the building of stronger communities. Working together, we can overcome divisions and build a better future for everyone. Loving your neighbor has the power to transform both our personal lives and the world around us. If you've made it this far, it's because you're committed to this journey of learning about Jesus' teachings. How about taking the next step? Like this video to help us spread this message, and subscribe to the channel to continue following inspiring content. The role of the Christian community. Imagine a place where everyone is welcomed, where love is not just a concept, but a daily practice. That place is the Christian community. Let's explore how the church plays a vital role in living and spreading love for our neighbor. The church is more than a building. It is a living body made up of people who gather to worship, support one another, and serve the community. Here, love for our neighbor becomes collective action. Many churches are known for their social initiatives, from providing meals to those in need to education projects and emotional support. These actions are the practical expression of loving your neighbor. Listen to the stories of lives transformed by these actions. People who found hope and purpose through the love demonstrated by Christian communities. Every church member has an essential role. It's not just about leaders or pastors, but every individual who chooses to make a difference. Together, we form a support network that can achieve so much more. You can also be part of this transformation. Small actions, such as offering your time or resources, can have a significant impact. How can you show love to your neighbor today? The Christian community is a reflection of God's love in action. When we come together to love and serve, we create a lasting impact. Reflect on how you can contribute and join this mission of love. As we look at the society around us, we see the potential for transformation that begins in the church and spreads to the world. Up next, we'll discover how this love in action can shape the future. Stay with us. Personal reflection and application. Pause for a moment and reflect. How have you been showing love to your neighbor in your daily life? Are we truly living out Jesus' commandment fully? Here are some questions to help you reflect. When was the last time you did something kind for someone without expecting anything in return? How do you react when you encounter someone in need? What does it mean to you to love someone who is difficult to love? Starting can be simpler than you imagine. A smile, a kind word, a small act of service. Each action counts. It is in the small things that love for our neighbor manifests most powerfully. How about including these gestures in your daily routine? Maybe you can set aside a moment in your day to call a friend who needs support, or dedicate a few hours to volunteer work. Loving your neighbor isn't always easy, especially when it involves overcoming prejudice or discomfort. But it is precisely in these moments that true love for our neighbor is revealed. When we choose to love even when it's hard. Here's a challenge. Choose a person or situation where you can show love to your neighbor this week. Write it down and commit to acting. Remember, it's in our actions that love becomes real. As we apply Jesus' commandment in our lives, we not only transform the world around us, but also ourselves. Love for our neighbor is the seed that can blossom into something grand. Shall we take this journey together? This is an ongoing journey. How about sharing in the comments how you plan to show love to your neighbor? Let's learn and grow together. Throughout this video, we've explored Jesus' powerful commandment. Love your neighbor. From the historical context to practical ways to apply it in daily life. We've seen how this teaching can transform not only our lives but also the communities around us. Jesus' message is simple but profound. Love has the power to heal, unite, and renew. He calls us to love in practical ways, going beyond words to reach each person around us with meaningful actions. Now it's your turn. How can you show this love in your daily life? Think of something practical you can do, even if it's small. Every gesture counts. Remember, loving is more than a feeling. It's an active choice. Each new day is an opportunity to love more and better. Don't miss this chance. Let love be the force guiding your actions, bringing light to your life and those around you. Did you enjoy this video? Leave a comment sharing how you plan to love your neighbor more. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to stay updated with our future content. Let's spread love together. The journey of love is long, but every step is worth it. Let's continue this journey together, growing and learning every day. See you in the next video.